looks like it's time to do another BlazBlue episode. As much as people like to poke fun at its complicated plot, I quite enjoy the BlazBlue series due to how much its characters are just that. Complicated and eccentric at first glance, but not impossible to understand and full of interesting trivia details once you invest some time to really read into it. There's a number of characters I could potentially discuss, but while I could talk about one of the more popular characters like Hakumen or Rachel Alucard, I'd like to use this opportunity to discuss another wildcard, and she's a member of the Novus Orbis Librarium's prestigious Zero Squadron. I'm the Kitsune Hawk, and today we're going to look into the symbolism and other complexities of one of the NOL's Wings of Justice, Tsubaki Yayoi. So get out your pencils, trivia enthusiasts, because this is character development. Tsubaki might seem a bit tricky to pick apart at first, but the easiest place to start is with her first name. When spelled in kanji instead of katakana, Tsubaki is the Japanese word for camellia, a flower found throughout East and South Asia. While it's typically associated with the tea and oil that can be made from its leaves and seeds, Tsubaki's connection to this particular flower comes from cultural symbolism. This leads us to hanakotoba, dubbed by many as the Japanese language of flowers. Hanakotoba is a traditional system of symbolism for a fairly wide array of flowers, including multiple varieties of camellia. Specifically, the red camellia symbolizes love, the yellow camellia symbolizes longing, and the white camellia symbolizes waiting. Put together, all three varieties of camellia symbolize the love, longing, and waiting of unrequited love, the trait that follows Tsubaki throughout her role in the series' story. All three colors can also be prominently seen in her default color palette in Continuum Shift. As for her last name, Yayoi, it has a number of translations based on spelling. On the traditional Japanese calendar, Yayoi refers to the month of March, just as Tsubaki's birthday is March 14th, and the rough translation of this spelling of Yayoi is new life. Ironic when you consider that Tsubaki's weapon of choice instead drains her life as an energy source of sorts. Speaking of her birthday, March 14th is White Day, an East Asian holiday where men and boys celebrate by giving gifts to women and girls. The holiday is meant to be a follow-up to Valentine's Day, or February 14th, Jin Kisaragi's birthday. As for Tsubaki's weapon of choice, the sealed weapon Izayoi, its name comes from a Japanese word meaning 16th night or 16-day-old moon. In astrology, it takes about 16 days for the moon to reach its maximum brightness. Past this point, the full moon begins to fade away into a new moon, just as Tsubaki is symbolically gripped by Izayoi's darkness over the course of the series' story. And now we get into Tsubaki's fighting style. Nearly all of her special attacks are Latin terms derived from the movements of the medieval Catholic Mass, though before I go into the attack names, I need to elaborate on what exactly the Mass was. In medieval Europe, the Church held absolute power over society, so being excommunicated from the Church meant that a person lost all of their rights and privileges. The Eucharist Mass was formed as a way for churches to display the piety of commoners, military, nobility, and clergy alike by having them admit to their sins, beg for forgiveness from God, and show reverence for God and His works. Music soon became an element of the Mass as the priests initiated the sacrifice to the Christian God. Different types of Masses, such as the Requiem Mass or the Papal Mass, were comprised of different movements based on holy texts, as well as 5 movements common to all Masses, known simply as the Mass Ordinary. But regardless of structure, the message was still the same. In this sense, Tsubaki is playing the role of the medieval priest, the long arm of divine punishment with the Imperator substituting God. With that out of the way, now we can discuss Tsubaki's attack names. Aequum Elysion, Sanctus Aequum, Sanctus Veritas, and Sanctus Dicus get their names from 2 of the movements of the Mass Ordinary. Kyrie Eleison, a prayer for mercy, its name literally meaning, Lord have mercy, and Sanctus, a hymn praising the Christian God, its name translating as holy. With this in mind, each of these attack names translate as Just Mercy, Holy Justice, Holy Truth, and Holy Beauty, respectively. As for the rest of her specials, Lux Aeterna, meaning eternal light, is taken from the lyrics of the text sung during communion. Her distortion drives, Confutetis Maledictus and Macto Maledictus, roughly meaning proven cursed and punishing curse, are taken from a line used in sequence poems, such as those of the Tridentine Mass. Benedictus Rex literally translates as Blessed is the King, referencing the Benedictus section of Sanctus, as well as Tsubaki's devotion to the Imperator. And as for her astral heat and final distortion drive, Requiem Aeternum and Requiem Maledictus They both serve as references to the Requiem Mass, while also translating as Cursed Rest and Eternal Rest, respectively. As for Lux Macto, meaning Honored Light, and Sanctus Erolata, which I couldn't even find a proper translation for, I couldn't find an exact application of either of these, leading me to assume that they're simply Latin-sounding word salad for the sake of sounding Latin. The BlazBlue series really does seem to enjoy going in more unorthodox directions with its character inspirations, oftentimes using symbolism as an extension of the cast's roles in the story. And this is crystal clear with Tsubaki in particular, using Eastern flower symbolism and celebrations to reaffirm her relationship with Jin Kisaragi, and Western religious symbolism through the numerous references to medieval Eucharist masses, and her position as a long arm of the law through membership in the Zero Squadron. While this analysis might likely become dated after the release of BlazBlue's central fiction, I do hope that it makes understanding Tsubaki's continued presence in the BlazBlue canon easier and more enjoyable. This has been Character Development. Thanks for watching, and you can thank Renegade Phoenix for suggesting today's episode. Don't forget to leave your feedback and suggestions for future episodes in the comments section below. And if you're interested in more character creation trivia, why not check out the previous episode on Homura from the Senran Kagura series. Just use the annotation on the left. And if you want to see someone new to subscribe to, why not check out my buddy Ty and his top 5 least favorite Pokemon? Do it for the Pikachu hat. No, really, give the Pikachu hat some love. Just comment on the video and mention the Pikachu hat. Thanks again for watching, and take care, everyone.